And now, TSPN News with Tom Slavik. Comprehensive news because in today's world, you need more than just sound bites. TSPN, streaming on the World Wide Web, and now on demand at tspntv.com. Hi everyone, Tom Slavik, and I'm with Supervisor Richard Forster, and we're going to be talking about the upcoming supervisor meeting.
Hi, Tom.
Tomorrow, right?
How are you doing?
I'm fine, Richard. I'm doing real well. John was up for the weekend. We had a great weekend, and it's always nice to get some snow, because we know when we live around here, it's going to melt.
Well, the hard part about the snow is what we're getting now with these sub-freezing temperatures down in the low 20s, even in my area, I live about 400 feet above my own. We're hitting about 24, 25 degrees.
Right. At night. Right now, we're 39 degrees here in Jackson at noon. So.
Right. Yeah, it thaws out pretty fast, but that's also when your pipes start to break, too, if you haven't done your winterizing. So would encourage people to just be careful on our roadways, slow down a little bit. The black ice is out there. Ted Novelli did report upcountry that the road crew was out and about this last couple of days during the storm and doing a lot of road plowing, and gave them some kudos for being out there when nobody else wants to be out there, keeping the roads clear.
Right, they cleared Irishtown as well. I think that's where the snow starts to kind of pile up, Irishtown and above.
Right. So, starting off our meeting tomorrow, we're going to have a resolution for Linda Van Vleck, our code enforcement officer, who as of the end of the year will be retiring, and so she's a short timer now. After working for the county about 16 years, Linda came in code enforcement actually in 1989, and she was actually a Secretary 1 there. Started out there, worked for about a year and a half, and then went over to the, I don't know if it was cooperative extension at that time, but she became the 4-H program coordinator for a year and a half. Then she went right back to the county and code enforcement as a deputy code enforcement officer. You know, one good thing about Linda, she is so good working with the public, and that is a position where you have to take a lot of abuse sometimes.
Right. You really interface with the public there on heavy issues.
That's right. So you want somebody with her temperament who, you know what, you're not going to insult the public, but you're not going to take a bunch of, to put it bluntly, a bunch of garbage from people too, because and that's what she's cleaning up a lot of the times is garbage out there, old cars. She ran our car abatement program for many years. Done a wonderful job there, so taking a lot of the cars out of the community, mostly for free to people, now at very little cost to people. So
I think that's funded from a license fee, isn't it? About $2 per vehicle? I believe that's what it is, right? Okay.
Yeah, and it's a very good program that's in place, but her primary job is enforcement and collections, mostly enforcement, though she's done a great job. And people in the community, I know people all over my district, when they have things that they need to remediate out there, they call Linda. She does a great job working with people, very respectful to the public, and trying to get the job done. You know, when you have to actually have an armed law enforcement officer go in with you, sometimes you know it's going to be controversial, adversarial, could be adversarial. But most of the time she took that out of the picture because of her professionalism. So thanks to Linda.
Before we get to the next item, why don't we just take a break, and then we'll be back with Richard Forster, Supervisor, District 2 and 1.
2.
I got it right. Hey, okay, we'll be right back after this. You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN. Hello and welcome back. We're going to get back into the Supervisor's Report with Richard Forster.
Oh, we haven't covered much yet, but we'll keep going.
And we'll get that first break out of the way. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to have Bob Schleppe back in with California Department of Corrections talking about the Level 2 infill project at Mule Creek State Prison. Mainly what he's talking to us about that time is just an update on that, an update on the spray fields, whether they have agreement with ION. But primarily he wanted to talk to us about the community mitigation funds. As you know, per inmate, the state has to give so much money to the county, and that money they give, about $600,000+, is split down the middle. Half of that goes to the school district, half of it goes to the county and the city of Ione. That has to be negotiated between the county and the city, who's going to get the share of that money. The city wants all of it. I know that according to their city manager. Well, that's not logical, because the county has costs too. As I said at their council meeting the other night, City of Ione didn't spend a dime when the county came in and sued the state over the closure of Preston. City of Ione, as far as I know, has not spent a dime in any of the litigation going on with casinos.
The county has more responsibilities that go over the city's responsibilities to a large degree, right?
That's right. But anyway, the county is willing, as long as the city has legitimate projects. That's what Mr. Sleppy is going to talk about. If the project goes forward, what are legitimate projects? He's going to give us examples that come out of the Stockton facility construction project and what the entities down in Stockton use those monies for.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that.
That'd be interesting. Should be a lot of people there for that.
Yeah, I mean, one we brought up, possibly the intersection of Highway 104 and Highway 88. That could be a legitimate use of the money that we've thought of. That intersection is going to need to get done at some point, just for safety of the traveling public. And I'm concerned about it because a lot of that traveling public is coming from the Ione area. There will be an increase in traffic. The problem is, Mr. Sleppy will find out, does it have to be percentage based on how much they feel the impact is from the prison, from any expansion.
Okay.
Next up, Maureen Funk will be in from the Amador Council on Tourism. Maureen's going to give a report on the State Fair booth and the amount of money there. I think it was about $10,500 that was raised and spent on that booth. Board of Supervisors contributes to that, so she'll give a report there on the data from the State Fair. She'll also talk about the other interesting thing that ACT, Amador Council on Tourism, is doing is a new procedure that they have for measuring their return on investment and their marketing plan. So they put together a marketing plan. They've shown where the transient occupancy tax money is going to go. And right now it's going to places like, they have about $121,000 total. They don't get $121,000 from the TOT. They get closer to about 60, 65 there. But they get more money from their member entities and things like that they'll put into things like a visitor's guide, radios, Capital Public Radio, Truckee Capital Public Radio. They have a website redesign. Anyone that's not gone on their website, it's a great website now, easy to access, easy to find out where do you want to do in Amador County, where do you want to go. They use it for things like Sacramento Magazine, Folsom, Lake Entertainer, Sunset Magazine, and then some of the big ones, San Francisco Examiner, Murrieta, River Valley Times. We draw a lot of people from that area. So there's a lot of different areas the money goes to, all for major attractions. Sunset Magazine is one of the big ones. Via Magazine is also one of the big ones that coming in at, looking at about $26,000 that goes there. So Maureen will talk about that. It costs a lot of money in those big magazines to advertise per page, or in this case, you're only talking about a quarter page, talking that much. I think it said it was 3 times a year. How much you get out of it? Everybody who's a AAA member gets, I think it's Via Magazine.
I read that. I see the articles in there, and Sunset, and they do a fine job.
Yeah.
And you are reaching out of the community that already knows about you to some degree, so
Right.
you want to pull in those tourists from out of the area.
Right. And
Once they come here, they probably want to come back.
Yeah. What they're trying to show, though, is the return on investment. That I know Jim Gillette, who's part of the Business Council and Vintners, was very high with Amador Council on Tourism on showing that return on investment so that you get those dollars again in the future to keep doing that. But if you don't show an increase in some way or another, an increase in volume of people coming in or in money spent, then it's hard to look at ACT as the best one to do the job. So that's what Maureen is coming in to with the board to present.
Okay.
Next up, we'll have Amador Water Agency. This is could be a big discussion. Gene Mancebo took this to the administrative committee under public matters because it slipped off our radar some way. But anyway, we took it straight to the Board of Supervisors for review. It's a request from the Water Agency for up to $1.45 million for 20 years at the prevailing interest rate, which has been provided by Mike Ryan. It's a very nominal interest rate. Right now it's under 0.25%. Under 0.19%. So very low interest rate, but this money would go to construct hydroelectric generation facilities. Under the new terms put together in the water supply agreement, hydro facilities are an eligible project that could be funded. Now, there's slightly over $5.15 million in the water supply fund at this time. We want to see that it's spent correctly, that it's spent legitimately, and that it goes where it's needed, too.
Can you give us an example quickly of what this means?
There's two locations that they're looking at. One is the hydro, or the Ione hydro facility plant. This is at the Ione treatment facility in Ione. The other is at the Tanner facility, which is, most people know, up a Taboo Wave. So the different things we're looking at, the cost is $1.4 million for Tanner, $1.8 million for Ione. Water Agency had to go out for a grant application process from another entity. They didn't want to do that if they knew that they didn't have a shot at getting this money from the, at least for one or the other, from the water supply
So
fund.
those two facilities, they can generate electricity through using hydro. That doesn't seem that there's a lot of fall there. Obviously, I don't have a lot of intel, and probably nobody else does, about how this works.
Well, they can generate 570,000 kilowatt hours at Tanner and 1.56 million at Ione annually. The question is, the Ione facility is going to cost $1.8 million. They don't know if they can get, it would take $3.2 million out of the water supply fund if the board were to fund both of these. I'm not sure there's an appetite to do that.
I might want to listen to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's an appetite to fund over $3 million when there's slightly over $5 million in the fund. Part of what's helping that fund grow right now is just interest. Even small interest, when you're talking about $5 million, you get a pretty healthy growth on that per year.
Will they be going through the concept there at the meeting, at the board meeting?
Oh, yeah, they'll be going through the whole thing. There's a thick packet here, but good thing is they'll be working on a payback cycle where they'll almost be covering the cost of what it takes you to generate, what it takes you to compensate for the amount of power used.
I think my interest in it would be the hardware and everything, or whatever it takes. I find that very interesting. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be back and finish with the Board of Supervisors report with Richard Forster. Stay with us on TSPN. You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.